Trade war hysterics. Why you need not worry. In fact, I came across this article, about 2 months old article, but from my man Brian Westbury over at First Trust Portfolios, ftportfolios.com. Westbury is probably among my top three favorite contemporary economists out there. I love this guy. He's the guy who called. I talked about this a lot when I was driving back from work. Is probably around March of 2009. I don't know if it was exactly March 9th, but it was around that time, March 9th, March 10th, something like that. And I was listening to the Hugh Hewitt show. And I'll never forget, it was a hot March. I had the windows down in San Antonio, and I had pulled over on De Zavala Road to get some gas, which is always a pain. It's like, I just remember sitting there thinking, it was tough because it looked like things were just bad across the board. We had just moved to Texas about 7-8 months prior. My job, I just had nothing to do at my job. I was like, there's no way these guys are gonna keep me on. I had this big mortgage, and I was like, the market was down. The Dow was down like 6,200, something like that. It's just the whole thing was. I was like, this is bad, and everyone was screaming bloody murder. Obama had just taken office, and it was for a guy like me. This was like bad. It was just no other way around it. You're sitting there thinking Obama's in office. He's got a veto-proof majority in the Senate. He had like more House of Representatives than the Democrats have had since like the early '60s or something like that. You're just like, oh man, it was bad. And then as I'm listening to Westbury, Hugh Hewitt interview Westbury's, oh, this is good. I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And he called basically the bottom of the mark. He goes, Barney Frank of all people, he had a House committee. I think he was chair of the finance committee or something like that. He had a House committee testimony where he called that they were going to do the FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, something like that. We're going to get rid of mark-to-market accounting. And Westbury said, this is huge. This is going to change everything. I'll never forget that. And I can't quote verbatim what he said, but I'll never forget. I said, what the hell is this guy talking about? Anyway, and it turned out he was right. Spot on. It was spot flipping on. I mean, is Westbury perfect in all his predictions? No, no one is. But I'll never forget that. And I'll always remember Brian Westbury for the guy who called the bottom of the market. And I didn't take advantage. I was like, nah, this guy's crazy. I said, doesn't this guy know his basic economics that inflation everywhere and always is a monetary issue, i.e. when the government is printing money, it's inflationary at all times. At all times. Remember that? At all times. That's from Napoleon Dynamite. Remember Rex Kwon Do? Rex Kwon Do. Guys, at all times. No more traveling solo. You will reoperate the buddy system at all times. Jeez. Napoleon Dynamite, one of the best movies. Okay. Anyway, so let's read what he says about the trade war, because again, just Brian, he has a book. I got a couple of his books up there on my shelf, and I just don't feel like getting it. But all right, Dateline, May 13th, 2019. Trade war hysterics. Since hitting new all-time highs 2 weeks ago, the S&P 500 has fallen about 2.2% as trade negotiations with China hit a snag. Remember, actually, I think the market, the S&P 500 in the month of May was down about 7.9%. I mean, that's a significant decline, my friends. It's 7.9% in the month of May. And you're not going to see that in any year-over-year picture, but, I mean, 7.9 was big, all right? So if you stuck out in that month of May, kudos to you. Slap yourself on the back. And hopefully you did by not paying attention, because I don't pay attention. I did not know it was 7.9% until I got my newsletter from my man, Nick Murray, which is how I came across this article, as a matter of fact. I did not know it was 7.9. If you did not know it was 7.9, you are operating correctly, as am I. I just don't pay attention. I mean, a little bit, but not enough. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't look that much, and you shouldn't either. Let's see. Last week, the U.S. announced new tariffs on Chinese imports, and this morning, China announced new tariffs on some U.S. goods. Many fear a widening trade war. Don't get us wrong. We want free trade, and we understand the dangers of trade wars and tariffs, which are just taxes on consumers. Exactly. At the same time, we think trade deficits themselves are not a reason for trade wars. We all run personal trade deficits with a grocery store and benefit from that. I mean, because you're not giving them cash. You're giving them check. You're giving them a credit card. I can guarantee the vast majority of you guys are giving them credit cards, which is inherently a trade deficit. That's trade deficits. Even if the entire world went to zero tariffs, the U.S. would almost certainly run trade deficits, even with China, because we are buying their goods with, it's not COD, cash on delivery, it's accounts payable. So they are receiving an accounts receivable, we are giving them an accounts payable, but we're getting their goods right now. But today, the trade deficit with China is partly due to the fact that China has higher tariffs on imports than the U.S. does. Working to eliminate these lopsided tariffs is worthwhile. So China has higher tariffs on imports than the U.S. does, and yet we're the ones sparking the trade war. In 1980, China was an impoverished nation. Then it began adopting tools of capitalism, property rights, markets, free prices, and wages. Chinese businesses started to import the West's technology, and growth accelerated. Initially, China didn't have to worry about intellectual property. When you replace an oxen with a tractor, all you have to do is buy the tractor, not reinvent the internal combustion engine. The evil ICE. But China has now picked and benefit from the lowest hanging fruit. So China decided to steal R&D, research and development, of firms located abroad. Some estimates of this collective theft to run into the hundreds of billions of dollars. That's why normal free market and free trade principles don't neatly apply to China. Of course they don't. That's why all these economists who are bitching about Trump, and it's the weirdest thing. It's like they have to find something not to like about Trump, so they bitch about the trade war and stuff. But you're like, it's not a trade war. It is a trade war. We just haven't fought. But we've been suspect to it in the thievery in China, like this guy was saying, hundreds of billions of dollars of our own products, our own money, our own labor is being taken from us by thievery. And for us to fight back as a trade war it's crazy. Remember Ronald Reagan's old story supporting free trade? We're in the same boat with our trading partners. If one partner shoots a hole in the boat, does it make sense for another to shoot another hole in the boat? The obvious answer is that it doesn't. And so protectionism would hurt us. But China hasn't just shot a hole in the boat. They've become pirates. If Tony Soprano and his cronies robbed your house, would free market principles require you to trade with them to buy those products back? Of course not. Man, exactly. Westbrook is a huge positive economist, and he gets this. I just don't understand why these others don't. If true tariff increases will not help the U.S. economy, but $100 billion... It's true. Tariff increases will not help the U.S. economy. But $100 billion of tariffs spread over $14 trillion of consumer spending is not a recession-inducing drag. It's true, some businesses like soybean farmers are hurt, but the status quo means accepting hundreds of billions of theft from companies that are at the leading edge of future growth. Either way, if tariffs nick our economy, China's gets hammered. Last year, we exported $180 billion in goods and services to China, which is 0.9% of our GDP. So we exported $180 billion in goods and services to China, which is less than 1% of our total GDP. And remember, that's just the legal stuff. That's just what we've seen above the line, so to speak. How much have they stolen from us that we're not making any money? We've exported it to them, but we haven't got any payment for it. Meanwhile, China exported $559 billion to the U.S., which is 4.6% of their economy. We have enormous economic leverage that they simply can't match. An extended U.S.-China trade battle means U.S. companies will simply shift supply chains out of China and towards places like Singapore, Vietnam, Mexico, or even made in the USA. If that happens, the Chinese economy is hurt for decades. Remember, I just want to revisit this. They exported 4.6% of their economy to us. We exported less than 1% of our economy to them. They are thieves. They're stealing, not the Chinese people. Don't be all stupid. The freaking communist government are thieving. It's not just us, by the way. It's everybody. They are stealing our property and not making us whole for it. So we are exporting 180 billion of legal stuff, but we're exporting billions more than that by not receiving compensation for it. So it's insane. So for us to stand up to them is good for the entire world that trades them, because that's going to tell China you can't steal anymore because there are other options from your thieving. An extended U.S.-China, yeah, we already talked about it. Anyone can invent a scenario with some sort of smoot-hawley like global trade war happens. Realistically, though, that appears very unlikely. We're not the only advanced country China's piracy has victimized. And China may realize it's more isolated than it thought. In the end, China wants to trade with the West, not North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. China needs the West. And all those trade war hysterics just aren't warranted. I tell you, everything is right about this. I just don't get it. I don't understand the negative Nellies who keep saying it's a trade war. There's a trade war happening right now. They're stealing from us billions of dollars, and we have not done anything under any administration, Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal. They haven't done anything. And Trump comes up and says we're doing something about it, and everyone friggin' freaks out. It's weird, man. Yeah, soybean farmers are going to get hurt. Well, I'm sorry, but guess what? All the other businesses where they're stealing our technology are getting hammered by China, who then turns around and sells it back to us. So I'm a fan of what Trump is doing here without question. I don't know why others don't do it. Even who was it? Chuck Schumer said the same thing. They know the Democrats know what's happening. There's not a smoot-hawley trade war here. We're not putting tariffs on the countries that we like, that do us right. We're doing the ones that are stealing from us. Anyway, so don't freak out about the trade war. Notice that the markets did come back again. Now the S&P is so I just don't pay attention. But remember, the S&P 500, even though it was down almost 8% in the month of May, came back strong, and now here we are sitting again at a high. It's you can't time the markets, man, and you can't get sucked into all the negativity on this stuff. It's nuts. All right, don't forget to subscribe, smash. We'll see you next time.